meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. Alderman Vaughn would like to say a word of prayer, and that will be followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, which art in heaven, most holy, all wise, all knowing, all powerful, all seeing, all hearing, all understanding, God. God, hear the few your handmaid servants that you have elected, Father God, to handle the affairs of this city. We pray, Father God, that every issue and every condition, we will move it to our heart, that it will glorify you. We pray, Father God, that you will fill this place with your spirit, that we will conduct ourselves decent and order. We will conduct ourselves like a child of the Most High God. Father, we ask you to forgive us of all our sins and strengthen us all where we're weak. Bridle our tongue and elevate our mind. Let us keep our heart close to you. In Jesus' name we pray.
All right, you have before you a copy of the written agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda as written?
You recognize Mr.
Alderman Vaughn.
Up on the public appearance, if she still want to make a comment, she can, but we want to move that to the consent agenda.
All right, just to clarify, that needs to be tagged with a statute, and it needs to come from the contingency fund. Are you comfortable with both of those things?
Yes, I am, Mr. Board.
So what's the statute that it needs to be tagged with?
1731.
All right. Mr. Mayor. Hold on just 1 second. Let me get the call of it, and then I'll recognize anybody that wants to speak. So, proposal from Alderman Vaughn is to place a sponsorship pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 17-3-1 of the 5th Annual Military Charity Dance Recital by KMG Creations, LLC, in the amount of $500 to be held on November 10th, 2013, with said funds coming from the contingency fund onto the consent agenda. Alderman Vaughn, is that your proposed revision? All right, now do I hear any objection? Do I hear any objection?
Do we have an amount?
$500.
And I did say, you said okay. Okay. Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. And Ms. Gilmore, your request has been approved. Do you still wish to make a public appearance this evening?
Yes, I just want to say invite everybody.
All right. So Alderman Vaughn, are you comfortable leaving the public appearance on with the item approved?
Yes, I am.
All right. So Ms. Gilmore, you'll still make your appearance, but no, as you're making your appearance, your request has been approved.
Thank you.
Alderman Vaughn, do you have further proposed revisions?
Yes, sir. On the aid personnel, move 1 and 2 to consent.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Vaughn is to place items 11H1 and 11H2 on the consent agenda. Those items are the authorization to advertise to fill the vacant position of Deputy Court Clerk in the Municipal Court Department as presented, and the authorization to continue the employment of Jonathan Henry on a temporary part-time basis until a replacement is hired and able to assume the duties of the engineering presented, also as presented on the consent agenda. Alderman Vaughn, is that your proposed revision?
That's it.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Vaughn, do you have further proposed revisions?
No, I do not.
Any further proposed revisions from the members of the board?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Wynn.
Yes, on page 2, under board business, I'd like to add an item, please.
Okay.
Add it as D, and that request of comprehensive review of landscape and sidewalk ordinances. And this is being made by myself and Alderman Little.
All right. The proposal from Alderman Nguyen is to add an item D under Roman numeral 10, board business, the comprehensive review of landscape and sidewalk ordinance. Alderman Nguyen, is that your proposed revision?
Yes,
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change to your agenda. Hold on. Alderman Nguyen, do you have further proposed revision?
No.
Mr. Attorney.
Point of clarification that I just saw in board business item B, instead of the words final order, make that final resolution.
All right, without objection, I'm going to treat that as clerical. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, note the change. Any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Alderman Little?
Under the minutes, August 20th, correction to item 30, and it should be changed. Note that I've recused myself from that vote.
All right, without objection, we'll incorporate that into the changes recommended by the city attorney. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, note the change. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions to the agenda from the members of the board? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as revised is in order.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And that will take us to announcements and comments by the mayor and members of the board. I have no comments this evening. Are there any comments by the members of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
Alderman Nguyen.
recognize. It's Ms. Emma Gibson Gandy in the room, please. Ms. Emma, will you stand and raise your hand and wave at everybody? I would like to say on Saturday, Ms. Emma held, and her staff over there at the sanitation department held their recycling day celebration. And it was so nice. If you missed it this year, please make sure that you go next year. We had a ball. We were treated to pulled pork, hamburgers, and hot dogs. And I know that myself went, and I know that Alderman Vaughn went because I saw him leaving really happy with his bags of goodies. So that was that was a good thing on Saturday. And Mr. Herman Peters, will you please stand and wave to the crowd, please? I want to congratulate you and your department on being recognized by receiving an award for the Class 2 special event by the Merit, Award of Merit by the Mississippi Recreation and Park Association. Congratulations to you all.
Amen.
And I would like to announce that one business is coming, and that will be Starbucks. So it will be located over there off of Highway 12 West, that is, over there in the Corky's parking lot where Corky's is located. Is Ms. Shantea in, our board secretary? Is Ms. Shantea, will you come forward with that? Ms. Shantea has something. And I noticed that there are a couple of college students sitting here, so we would like to provide you all with, about 10 of you all, with a bottle of coffee. Chantel, will you, here they are right here. And Mr. Mayor, at this time, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Alderman Nguyen. Are there any further comments from the members of the board? Alderman Little.
In following Alderman Nguyen's comments earlier, adding the landscape ordinance to the agenda, I just received, probably in the last hour, a note from one of our local developers I'd like to share with everyone what he had to say. It's from Jeremy Tabor. As chairman of RDS, I have reviewed the landscape ordinance and discussed the current challenges with our board as we, as a group, all agree that the landscape ordinance should be reviewed. While we are all in favor of more defined regulations that will enhance the appearance of Starkville, it is not practical to consistently apply the current ordinance because of economic impact it has on all projects. In essence, the ordinance is overkill for Starkville. RDS is in favor of a formal review of the landscape ordinance. If we can help in any way while this is under review, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you for all your contributions to Starkville. Jeremy Tabor, President and CEO of Tabor Construction and Development.
Any further comments from the members of the board? Are there any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. And at this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Alvin, County Ward 7. Now, we want to recognize Vice Mayor Perkins and Alderman Vaughn.
Thank you, Alvin.
Thank you, Alvin.
We have some concerns. We have one more month before time change. All right, it'll be getting dark early. It'll be dark early in the morning. We have some kids that are walking to school, and that would be very dangerous because we have sexual predators and everything out now. We don't want the kids to fall victim to the evil-minded people. We also have Halloween also in this month, and it also sometimes give people the say to do evil. We need to find a way to this social bullying and stuff. A child only gonna tell a parent so much, and because we don't know how the parent would take it. We need to let them do that, and as well, we need to find a way to maybe let children know about the dangers of guns, that sometimes that they will discharge or jam, and they don't know how to handle that. And that is just some concerns, deep concerns over here.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Ron Cosman, and I'm speaking tonight as president of Starkville in Motion. And I'm going to be presenting, or rather touting, Starkville's progress tomorrow at the first bike summit in Jackson. I just wanted to sort of highlight some of the things that I'm going to be covering at that summit. First of all, of course, is the Lynn Lane multi-use path. It was originally funded in 2006. We're getting very, very close to actually completing that. I understand that acquisition of the final right-of-way is continuing, and as soon as that's done, we can begin to actually turn dirt on that. Even though we have it funded and is underway, I would like to urge the board to consider realizing the original vision of that, which was to extend it westward from the Sportsplex to the Boys and Girls Club and also up to McKee Park to connect to a potential future rails to trails or rails with trails. And also on the eastern side, it would be great if we could take it through the intersection at Loxley Way and Spring Street onto the MSU campus. And obviously that's going to require cooperation between the university and the city. I also want to highlight the progress that we've made on sidewalks that have been funded by Safe Routes to Schools that have been completed. We had our ribbon cutting earlier this year. We're making slow but steady progress in terms of creating a safe environment for 4th through 8th graders to walk or ride to school. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to make that progress. I'm excited about the activity, MDOT activity on 182, but I think that the next grant that SIM writes for Safe Routes to Schools needs to fill in the gaps that are going to exist, because that's not going to have a continuous sidewalk network. Speaking of sidewalks, from our view, it's a critical economic development issue to have a complete sidewalk network. It's a quality of life issue. Keep in mind that we're making up for 70 years of not building sidewalks, so it's going to be coming slowly. We find that on a regular basis when we do our neighborhood walk and rolls, that are community-based. A group of people in a neighborhood will get together at a designated time and location to walk around their neighborhood and sort of promote walking and alternative transportation. And we know that bike lanes and sidewalks on University Drive are being used. We conducted our annual cycling and pedestrian census, and in a 12-hour period, we counted 213 cyclists, 432 pedestrians, 144 runners, and 11 skateboards. The The good news is that less than 1% of cyclists were on their cell phone while riding on their bikes. The bad news is that half of the cyclists were not wearing the helmet in the city limits. Which brings up my last point, and that is education. What we really need to do, because we have a constant influx of freshmen every year to the university, we need to educate everyone, riders, cyclists, drivers, as to the rules of the road and safety issues. And that's something that we're going to be pushing very, very hard. I'm out of time. Thank you very much. In summary, thank you very much. I look forward to working with the board over the next
I do have a question for Ms. Scott.
Yeah.
When is the next round of Safe Routes to School grant due?
It will probably be coming open later this year. Of course, with sequestering and shutdown and everything else, that's all on hold. But once they pass the next transportation bill, there will be Safe Routes to Schools monies in that. And I'll be working with our local representative at MDOT and, of course, the state coordinator to make sure that we can put together a grant proposal for specifically for 182, but it'll be more than that. That's my vision.
From 182 toward?
Well, there are going to be gaps along 182 where they have not done curb cuts, sidewalks, and things like that. And so one of my big concerns is to fill those gaps in so that we have a complete network.
Thank you, Mr. Cosman.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us which ward you live in? Is it
Pardon?
which ward?
Actually, I live in the county now.
Oh, gotcha. Thanks.
Do we have any further citizen comments?
I'm Clayton Richardson. I thank you for allowing me to come. And I thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for serving as leaders of the community. And I'm here to talk about the landscape ordinance. And I'm glad that you're taking it under advisement to decide what to do about it. I want to tell you from firsthand my experience with it. We're trying to build a 8,000 square foot building. And a couple of months ago, architect Bill Mann got us a quote of $8,000. And that's what we use to trade, or trading for the job. So earlier this month, or last month now, 9th, 11th of September, I got a written quote. That written quote was $64,875. Was 8 times as much. So I think something is out of whack about that, and I hope you will follow through on it. I talked to Ann Hovind today. Y'all know who Ann Hovind is and Robert Rogers. They've been developers in this community for 20 years or more. I asked Ann about it. She said they are trying to build a project down on, and I can't tell you the name of the shopping center, but where Corky's is, that's going to take 0.78 of an acre, 3/4 of an acre. She has gotten a quote of $40,000 to landscape it. In addition to the landscaping, we have to give up every 10th parking spot for landscaping, so we're having them do more parking. Ann's comments was that she and Robert been developers here since 1990. The landscaping ordinance is way, way out. These are her words. It's much easier to work in other communities. The landscape ordinance and other ordinances are causing an issue with them. And they tried to read the ordinance and couldn't understand it. Across the street from the high school, we recently purchased 2 acres there. We want to build 2 buildings. One on Yellow Jacket Drive. It's a 5,000 square foot building. We had $4,000 in our estimate for landscaping. Our estimate now is $35,000. On Louisville Street, we hope to build a little strip center there of 13,500 square feet. To put landscaping on that property and sidewalks is a little over $100,000. It's an awful lot of money to go in there. Not only that, we have to pay the tax on it forever. And it also, I am for landscaping and I'm for sidewalks. But the high school's been there longer than some of y'all were born. Well, we've had a lot of mayors and a lot of aldermen come through here, and not any of them have thought that we should have trees or plants along that 17-foot strip between the blacktop on Yellow Jacket and our property. in front of the high school. Nobody's thought we ought to have a sidewalk there until somebody like me comes along and buys it. And then we have to pay for it. Now, why in this room full of people like me to tell you these kinds of problems? Because the landscape ordinance is primarily targeted at commercial builders. Who are they in our community? You heard from Jeremy Tabor. Bo and I build our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
But y'all can't think of 10 commercial builders down here. And thank y'all for voting and doing what you did for Link.
Do we have any further citizen comments? One at a time.
I'm Kristen Deckert. I'm in Ward 4. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. I can speak directly to the property in front of the high school. I live right off of Yellow Jacket Road in Pleasant Acres subdivision, immediately leaving there. And I would like to say that, unfortunately, no mayor or board of aldermen has thought there needs to be a sidewalk in front of the high school before now. There is a lot of foot traffic on Yellow Jacket Road and on that part of South Jackson from that housing community that's at the right on South Jackson, and then also people traveling from the apartment complexes and from South Montgomery to the high school. I think that to say that there should not be a sidewalk or an ordinance that provides for landscaping or sidewalk or easy access to a public school building is quite frankly irresponsible. I think we have young children and we have teenagers traveling that direction, and I'd like to say that I do support a sidewalk ordinance specifically for easy access for low income or people without transportation regardless of their income level. We have young people in the community, we have people from overseas who are here as exchange students who don't have vehicles, and to deny the need for proper access and transportation modes for those people is, I think, to miss the point of a community. And so I disagree and think that is needed. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Ms. Decker. And we had somebody.
Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Sarah Lamb. I am a master's student at Mississippi State studying landscape architecture, and I wanted to talk to you guys briefly about why I think that you should reconsider changing the ordinance. I feel that, we can either create spaces, that people care about, and I understand that, losing a parking spot might seem like a big deal, from a development standpoint, like you want to fit as many cars in the parking lot as you can, but we have to think about like the quality of life and like the environment that we're creating in our parking lots, and that we've got, shady spaces to park our cars under and spaces to enjoy. And, the design that we're doing where we're forcing ourselves to put up with just, traffic sewers, is really the kind of roads we're talking about. All of the interesting and wonderful places across America that people get excited about going to have walkable streets and places where the community is active and comes out and can spend time bumping into one another and creating these connections, and that's what creates community. And, I think that we're doing something very smart, investing in this infrastructure. It's only going to make the town better, over time. I feel like we should have done it a long time ago, and I'm so excited about all the progression that we've been seeing in the last handful of months. And if you're talking about economic development, sidewalks bring people to businesses. They put people on the streets, and they make people, that are coming to visit Starkville for football games or other activities, conventions, conferences, they come in the town and they're like, wow, this place is beautiful, it's so cool, and they love this place like we love this place. And I think that that's important, and that we should really, think about holding, ourselves to a little bit higher standard and creating these world-class places. That can be Starkville. Our town can be awesome if we continue to support places for people, because that's what a town is about. That's what community and what, being a part of a city, means. So please, the sidewalk ordinance is not excessive. I really implore you to reconsider and, to just understand that, you know, sidewalks are necessary to creating vibrant places, and our citizens will love it. I mean, I don't know if you guys use them, but I mean, they're fantastic, and I'm so appreciative of the work that's been going on so far. But I wanted to say thank you for listening to me this evening, and, you know, I hope that y'all make a good decision about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Do we have any further citizen comments?
Jim Gafford, Ward 5. My first comment is anecdotes is not the plural of data. We've had sidewalk ordinance on the books for 6 years. It is by design not supposed to be obtrusive in any way. If there's a $100,000 sidewalk that's being required for a building that only costs $8,000, then the sidewalk ordinance does not apply. If you would like to look at our community, the sidewalk ordinance has been on the books for 6 years. We've had the greatest amount of growth, the most economic development that we've ever seen in our city's history over the past 6 years, during the biggest economic downturn this nation has seen since the Great Depression. And you're telling me the sidewalk ordinance is causing problems? The sidewalk ordinance and the landscape ordinance are modeled after the most successful communities in our country and in our state. And if you're going to be reviewing those, you'll be reviewing those from an outsider's perspective. None of you and none of us have the objectivity to do that appropriately. And I would encourage you to look outside of people here to do so. I would look to other communities to come in and do that review for us. And also, adding agenda items the night of a meeting at the table is setting a really bad precedent. You already have a reputation for not being very transparent, which is one thing many of you campaigned on. If you can't set your agenda ahead of time because you fired a CAO, perhaps you should have thought about that before you knew how to do your job. I would suggest, if you want to set agenda items that are not time sensitive, and this one is not time sensitive, that you table it until the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gafford. Do we have any further citizen comments?
My name is Lauren Webb. I'm the new director of Art and Public Places. It's part of the Starkville Area Arts Council. So far, not many people have known about this council. We hold gallery shows at the GSDP on a monthly basis. But what I'm trying to do as a recent graduate of Mississippi State's art department, I'm also a small business owner here in Starkville, is starting a project with local artists in the community on getting some murals around town. This goes so well with this ordinance because obviously if people are, you know, out and about more on the sidewalks and appreciating the landscaping anyway, in conjunction with some really amazing public art displays by local artists. A lot of the business owners that I've talked to around downtown are so, you know, just enthusiastic about this project. And so from that, you know, through Starkville Area Arts Council, basically trying to bridge the gap between the community and the artists and bring those together. So just for example, our first mural project would be a mural on native plants to Oktibbeha County specifically. So it'd be a very educational thing. It would also, we want to involve people of all ages, so getting the schools involved as well. If you go to other places that have public art and murals, especially ones that do involve school children, it has a huge impact on the way people think about the town. It's bringing more culture to Starkville and educating tourists and other people that come here about, you know, who we are as a community. So I just want to say, as my position in as director of this committee, it's very important and can really bring a lot of benefit to Starkville overall. It's really an investment in the future, regardless of, you know, what it might be costing right now. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb.
Ms. Webb, can you give me the name of your organization one more time, please?
Art in Public Places.
All right, thank you.
And I've got a card here. It's through Starkville Area Arts Council.
Thank you.
Do we have any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments this evening?
Good evening to the board, to the mayor, to all of you that are present. I'm here again today. I'm a little late, but I don't see anything on here about the police brutality that was reported. Waiting for that to come out. It hadn't come out in the newspaper. We hadn't seen anything about it. And those people were here last time at their request, and I don't see anything on here, you know, about it, on the agenda about it. I just want to say this is a very serious situation to me. I don't know about anybody else, but it's very serious to me. I'm demanding that it be brought forth, that we know what it is, because I've had other complaints. And I know we have a nice police department. I would just like to say everybody's not, you know, out to get nobody, but if we have problems, we need to correct it. And I'm just here to say that. But I would just like to very much say, as I come before you today, please do not let this go unaddressed. You know, just because we didn't have any kind of coverage on it at the last meeting, I would just like to know what's going on in my community. And I thank you all for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Isaac. Do we have any further citizen comments? Oh, got two of you jumping up.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Please excuse my very informal attire. I was unaware that this proposal was on the board for today, but I would please strongly urge you, it's a very important proposal. I was touting what Starkville is doing recently to my stepfather, who's an economic developer, to my grandmother, who's in the House of Representatives, and I was saying what a vast improvement, how proud I am to be in Starkville because of this landscape ordinance, because where it is pushing the urban layout of downtown Starkville, without sidewalks, without trees, how can you bring customers to people's businesses? Businesses fundamentally rely on the pedestrian. If you're not encouraging the pedestrian, then you are losing business. Even so, at that, I would strongly recommend you all to increase the budget, to move beyond this paradigm, to say we need infiltration basins, we need to look at stormwater, we need to say how can we combine pedestrians and trees and vegetation to make Starkville something far more than it is. And the hallmark of any great city is its urban layout. Look at Portland, the ancient cities of Europe, New York. These spaces would not be possible without sidewalks, without trees. All these great spaces are centered around people, not the automobile. And yes, it has done wonderful things in America, but we have to take attention away from it and move towards sidewalks and move towards inhabitable spaces. So thank you, gentlemen.
Can you get your name, please?
Michael Van Pran.
Can you spell that last name for me?
Of course. VAMPRAN.
Thank you, Mr. Van Brent.
Thank you.
Do we have any further citizen comment?
Hello, Richard Corey, Ward 4. I guess I wanted to say that I too was a little bit surprised that we have an item tonight to revise two major ordinances without it being posted in the agenda that was publicly made available. You know, in my previous term as an alderman, heard several times from some of my colleagues that are up here now about the importance of not adding items to the agenda at the last minute, and I hope that's a practice you choose to remain consistent on. I do think there is room to sometimes revise our ordinances, and so I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of looking at them, but I hope it's done in a fair manner, that there aren't decisions that are made ahead of time, that you look at it equitably. I do like our sidewalk ordinance, and I do think our landscape ordinance has a lot of potential. It hasn't been in effect very long. Our sidewalk ordinance, on the other hand, has. So I hope you take that into consideration. And I'm a little surprised by the composition of the review board, because we have a landscape architect professor on this board, and so I'm assuming that he would be considered to look at the landscape ordinance, but I'm not sure exactly how this process of selection was done.
Thank you, Alderman Cord. Do we have any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances, and we have one public appearance this evening, and that is from Ms. Kayla Gilmore. Ms. Gilmore, you will have 10 minutes to make your presentation to the board.
It won't take but a minute. Good evening. My name is, for the record, is Kayla Gilmore, owner of KMG Creations Dance and Fitness. Hello, Mayor and the Board of Aldermen. Thank you for your contribution for the 5th Annual Military Charity Recital. Hope that you all get to make it and come fellowship and be a part of recognizing our veterans. Again, that is Sunday, November the 10th, 2013 at 3 p.m. at the Starkville Sportsplex, and the admission is free. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilmore. All right, the next matter on the agenda is a report from Edward Kemp about transit paths, and it looks like he'll have a little help this evening.
Slight bit of help. I'll kick us off and pass the baton to our fearless leader here. I'm now serving as the city's liaison for the Transit Committee, which consists of several representatives from Mississippi State, their transit operations folks, as well as other folks on campus. And since this is a joint partnership between the city and the university, I'm your representative, so if you have any feedback, feel free to give me that. Alderman Dumas is our chairman, and I put this PowerPoint together without knowing exactly what y'all wanted to know about, so this may be a little bit broader than you'd like, but feel free to stop us along the way if you have any questions. I'm sure Jeremiah can answer all those.
We'll try. You did take out.
Yeah.
Okay. You go ahead.
For those that don't know, let me cover this one.
I can cover the first part if you want to cover the second.
The university applied for and received a 5311 grant through MDOT. It's actually a federal transit program grant. It's a great opportunity. There are several entities throughout the state that have this grant. And the great thing about it is it provides 80%, 80-20 match on all capital costs, which is shelters, purchase of buses, things of that nature. And then shares 50-50 with the ongoing operation and maintenance costs, paying for salaries, fuel, repairs, and that kind of thing. So the city was unable to provide any cash donation as part of our match, but we did provide in-kind match. As you can see in the match back in February of last year, the board at that time approved for us to construct all the pads for the shelters, provide the electrical connection. We'll pay for the electricity going forward, as well as maintain and service the shelters as needed. Those are just within the city, not the ones on campus.
Scott, you have a question?
I would just say for everybody, if you could give an overview, which it looks like you're getting ready to do here for the routes.
I can. Yeah. The as Edward mentioned, the primary driver for this was the MDOT 5311 program. And the 5311 program is focused on low and moderate income facilities in a community. Oxford operates their transit program very similar to what we're shaping this facility to be, or this program to be. Currently, Mississippi State has a transit program that's been in existence since 1996. We shuttle somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million people a year. So that program has tremendous success, obviously, but it's obviously campus focused. So this program, because of the requirements of the 5311 grant and because of the opportunities that we saw in the community, we focused this. This was really the first exercise of connecting the dots. So you can see that we have Mississippi State. We looked at areas of higher student densities. We looked at areas that were low income by way of the Starkville Housing Authority developments, HUD facilities, Section 8 facilities. We looked at shopping and special services. Special services being any type of civic function that would be operated through the state. Medicaid, Medicare offices, Ability Works, which is Department of Rehabilitation Services on Industrial Park Road. And then obviously medical facilities up on Hospital Road, and then our parks and recreation. There are 3 routes on this. I think you get into some of this.
I have a blow up of this.
There are 3 routes on this program. One, and y'all forgive me, I'm colorblind, the one we're calling the park and ride, which is 3.25 miles. That starts on campus, goes down Blackjack Road, Lynn Lane, out to the Sportsplex. That route has actually been in existence for a year now, and currently we're shuttling 150, 200 individuals a day who park at the Sportsplex and ride back and forth to campus. Those are students, but we're also finding we're having growing numbers of faculty and staff who see that opportunity as a real benefit for them not having to park on campus. The other one is the Downtown Express route, which will start on campus at our new parking facility that will be north of the YMCA, the classroom parking deck. But that route will go back and forth downtown. It will, as we see the development change on Meigs and West Main with the municipal complex, it will actually go West Main by the courthouse and back downtown, or I'm sorry, back to campus. But the primary focus of that is to get individuals to and from campus to downtown. And then the big one, which is of key interest here, is the community route, and that's a circular route. There'll be 2 shuttles on these back and forth, so it won't be just one shuttle making long trips. You'll be able to go bi-directional. This one is to really focus on the needs of the community, getting individuals to and from the hospital, getting individuals to and from retail areas, getting individuals who might live in your higher density student areas that might not have an interest on campus. And so that's the real driver of this. There's 2 hubs involved with this. The Sportsplex is a hub where the community route will loop or overlap with the park and ride route, the same as downtown, where you'll have the park and ride route, or I'm sorry, the downtown route overlap and be able to connect to the community route. And the goal here is that anyone having access to the facility can go to and from anywhere on campus that they want. A lot of the sidewalk issues that have been discussed were key drivers of this. This map was actually a key driver in some of those changes to that ordinance. So access to and from these facilities is key. So we want to continue to make sure that that's a part of this program so that our shelters, and I know the shelters are part of this presentation of making individuals, because ADA access is a key part of that. All our shuttles will have ADA access. We're actually working on videos right now to put online so individuals know exactly how to operate within the shuttle, getting from the transit shelter into the shuttle with whatever disability they may have. The same is true for bikes. We're actually having bike racks on all the shuttles so that individuals can get on or put their bike onto a rack at any of these stops and get to and from campus or any part of the community that they'd like.
Alderman Dumas, the cost of riding this shuttle is?
Free. It's a free service, so anybody can use it. This is another part of the transit shuttle. This actually overlaps our transit service. This overlaps with the campus routes that you see on the right. So see, obviously, going back and forth to the research park, down to the vet school, which is another parking ride facility that's new this year, and how those overlap to the community routes that we have. To talk specifically about routes, our stops, this is the Lynn Lane route. This route will actually leave campus, travel on Blackjack. There's another route that you see that overlaps Blackjack to Polo's College Station and serves that area. It will go Loxley Way, then South Montgomery, Lynn Lane out to the Sportsplex. The areas that we're looking at for this specifically are having a stop at Montgomery Hall, which will service campus, but then the Theta Tau, Sproul mailboxes that you see on the north side of Lynn Lane going toward the Sportsplex. We currently use the Sportsplex Pavilion, which is the new pavilion provided by the Soccer Association that is used now for for shelter in that area, and then Ferndale Manor, which will be on the south side of the road. So the goal there was to have eastbound and a westbound shelter and stop on Lynn Lane to service both sides of Lynn Lane and the density that's
If I
found.
could jump into anywhere that there's an asterisk is where a proposed shelter is going to go, or at least in that vicinity. The other places that are going to be mentioned currently have some type of awning or overhang where people can get out of the weather. For instance, when at Kroger, there won't be a standalone shelter. They'll just wait kind of adjacent to the building on the shuttle. So the places only with asterisk are what the city is going to be obligated to build.
And there are.
Wow. What about the soccer pavilion? Is that an option just to have a new pavilion? I'm talking about at the Sportsplex. Is that a good option or not?
This is serving the need now. What we've written into the grant for this year is for 5 shelters. Shelters are expensive, and obviously we're going to have to build this in over time. As Edward mentioned, we're focusing on those areas that we see of greatest need. So anywhere that we can capitalize on existing infrastructure, We're not going to invest in a shelter this year. Those will be what we'll continue to do over the years as we gradually build more shelters into the system. Hopefully through time we'll have shelters everywhere that are not only, because we see that as a real identification chance and marketing chance, et cetera, for the program, so that it connects better with the shelter and the needs of the shuttles themselves. So in these areas where there's not a pavilion, and there are a few that you might see that don't have an overhang or an existing infrastructure or a shelter, we're actually going to build we're fabricating signs as we speak that we'll put up that will have all the transit information that will just locate it as a stop. And we see this in several where you have the pull tag with shelters, where you don't have a shelter or shuttles, where there's a designated location that the shuttle will pick up, and you can pull or tell the driver, and it'll have all the transit information. Oxford and Ole Miss use that model primarily in a lot of places, and they have a good bit of success with it. The Campus City connector, again, this will leave the new parking deck, Giles Hall area. Well, it will leave Giles Hall now, but when we build the parking deck classroom building, it will leave that area. It will proceed down University Drive with the stop at the Catholic Church, with stops at Cadence Bank. It will stop at the Courthouse Annex. It will make the loop on Meigs, go around the Methodist Church, then come back on West Main where Meigs ties into Main. With the idea that once the municipal complex is finished, that will be a primary downtown stop at the one-way there where the construction of the municipal complex will go out into the street a bit there. Regions Bank on the way back eastbound, Stromboli's in that area, and then the Eggplant Building, for lack of a better term, the Ptolemy's Tap Room area in the Cotton District. So the key there is that we pick up individuals who are interested in going downtown. On the way into downtown, we give them good stops downtown to access the places they can, and then pick them up on those that are going back toward the university to get back to class after their lunch break. The city circular route is by far our biggest route. Again, we'll have 2 shuttles on this. There will be 2 on the others as well. The hub downtown will be Cadence. We'll stop at OCH. We've looked at the community or the counseling community counseling area. There's some access issues that we're currently working on of how to accomplish that, because that's obviously due to the 5311 proposal. That's a big part of the community we'd like to service. Brick Fire on Reed Road, Chandler Park Apartments, the Brooksville Gardens areas. That will then go to Imaging Center on Stark Road at the corner of Stark and 182. Proceed down Stark to Walmart. Then go back toward the east and pick up in the Kroger Post Office Shopping Center. Then from there it will proceed down Industrial Park Road to the Sportsplex, Piggly Wiggly, and then leaving there again another hub back up to Piggly Wiggly Pine Acres. You remember one of the issues that we talked about when we discussed the sidewalk ordinance was the fact that 2 areas of the highest need that needed access were your Medicaid office and your Ability Works. 2 areas that really focus on carless populations and those that are low income, moderate income. And as it stands right now, there's not a good location where we can actually get a shuttle into those and back out. So Medicaid is a one-way kind of hammerhead parking area where you have to go in, back around very narrowly, and get back out on Industrial Park Road. Ability Works is actually a gravel parking lot with no issue of a real area to get in and out of too. So those are challenges we're looking at now, but again, areas that we see are real benefits of how to serve a population that really needs this and is a target area for this grant. So what do the shelters look like? This is a picture of a similar shelter on the bottom. This is actually one on campus. Every shelter will have a digital ETA sign. That's every shuttle will have GPS and counters on that. Our transit.msstate.edu website has up-to-date tracking of those, so anytime you can look on your smartphone or whatever you want to do and see exactly where the shelter is, our shuttle is, where you are, and the ETA for that shelter or shuttle coming towards you. This is one shelter that has 2 routes that actually overlap, so that will be very similar to the ones at the Sportsplex and at the Cadence area, because 2 routes will actually overlap at those points. The shelters on the top, these are solar panels. These will be installed with solar panels to run the LED ETA signs. The top will be, that's a 12-inch fascia. We're working on the graphics for right now that will be very similar to the graphics that you'll see in just a second. All these will be ADA accessible. The issue on some of these, though, is that For example, on Lynn Lane, the Lynn Lane bike path will help alleviate this, but there are a lot of areas that we're putting these that have the need for them that do not have ADA access to them. So those are things through time we'll have to gradually build into the program of how we actually get there. This is a copy of the bus. It's a maroon bus, black. I don't know what all to say.
Maroon with a green.
Yeah, green. The program's called SMART, Starkville MSU Area Rapid Transit. There's a lot of ways and you can play on that. But this is what the shuttles are. We've actually got 5 of them that are in Jackson right now being painted with the graphics. We've got 5 more that are on delivery. And the neat part about it to me is that in January we'll actually receive 2 trolleys. The trolleys, the graphics are being worked on as we speak. Those trolleys will be used on the downtown route. So those will be the 2 trolleys that go back and forth on the express route and be used on other special occasions when we see fit. But those will be the focus areas for the downtown area. Got anything on that?
I don't think so, other than, well, one thing. At this point, I am working on trying to procure easements from where these shelters are going. Most all the locations identified are on private property in some form or fashion, maybe a portion of it. I've actually had some discussions with Chris on the best way to do that from an easement standpoint, or we need to, acquire the property and that kind of thing. But of the 5 locations, we're working through those issues with those property owners at this time, and hopeful. I mean, our goal is to have the shelters installed in December, so we can hit the ground running in January. 1st of January is when the other 2 city routes are gonna open up for business. So we're working toward that goal as hard as we can.
Yeah, our goal is to roll January 1, or whatever that first day after there is.
Mr. Mayor, Manager.
You may.
Mr. Latimer, from a liability standpoint, would it be beneficial for us to acquire that property as opposed to having the shelters on private property?
That's an issue that we're discussing with certain landowners to firm that up. But the cleanest thing would be for us to get the property in fee from that standpoint.
Further questions or comments from the members of the board?
I just want to say thank you. We've tried a similar program, I know, several years ago in the past, and I know this time we're going to be successful because we have the right people working on it that's going to help make this reality. Convenience is a big part of it. There are a lot of factors that go into the success of whether you have a successful transit or not. And believe it or not, safely being able to access that transit is pretty high up on the list. So as we are beginning to review things, we need to look at how do we make life easier, more convenient, the services that we're providing our citizens that we just raised their taxes on. What are we going to be getting for that? It's very important to keep that in the back of our mind. Starkville is a city. We're not a town anymore. It's time to put on the big boy pants and act like it. We're a lot more like Hattiesburg and the coast than we are Eupor or Ackerman. Not that there's anything wrong with being from Ackerman or Eupor. We're in a different place. The bar has been set higher. If we want to get the big time development that we want in Starkville, the more places to eat, the bigger anchor stores to shop in, they don't go to places that don't have this stuff. If you have this stuff, you're going to be more likely to attract economic development. That's just the truth. That's the facts of it. Now, we can review ordinances and they all need to be reviewed. I'm not sure why we're just going to stop at 2. We're going to look at them. Let's look at more of them and look at something that really is comprehensive to see how do we make Starkville as economically viable as possible. And I think we're well on our way. And it's programs like this that are going to help make Starkville successful. So thank you. I'm looking very much forward to January 1 and January 2nd. We can start riding this and taking advantage of the places that this program is going to take us. And if there's anything that we can do to help speed that up or help talk with landowners, we can do it. There's a lot of interest for this to happen, especially the downtown route. It can happen. We're ready for it. Starkville is ready for it. Let's make it happen.
I would second that as well. One of the stops on campus is Montgomery Hall, which happens to be my building. And I saw the infancy of the shuttle program to now, when anytime you walk out the door, there can be up to 100+ students standing waiting. I've seen the Sportsplex route take off where I've counted 60 or 70 cars in the parking lot of the Sportsplex and talked to faculty members who park there to avoid the hassle of getting on campus. So I'm excited about it too. I think it's going to be just a wonderful addition, and it's going to meet the needs of multiple populations, especially that low to moderate income. The ADA accessibility is huge. The bike racks on the buses are huge. And I'm looking forward to it as well.
Well, Mike Harris and Jeanette Bailey, both with parking and transit services, are the ones that have really done the lion's share of this, and they'll be the ones that manage this. Just to tag and to give a real push for city activity here. Some of the precedents we looked at and some of the systems we went and wrote on, it was I was naive in thinking, especially in university towns, that it would be heavily dominated by university students. And they were at certain times during the day, but the longer we stayed there and the more routes we rode, it was amazing how many people within the community used it. And these were programs that didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago. And just in a short amount of time, people then began to really build their day around it and work on it. And these were programs that did not have ETA signs or did not have apps that people could get information on. And we understand that your low and moderate are not the ones that are going to be looking on their iPhone, for example, to get to the health department or get wherever they're going. But those are issues we're trying to really wrap around from a marketing standpoint. So the partnership is helping us. We've actually just accepted a print quote, so you'll start seeing a lot more of this information. And yeah, we encourage as much ridership as we can. It's definitely not just a Mississippi State transit program anymore. It has been, but no longer that way. Thank y'all.
Further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Thank you, gentlemen. All right, the next matter on the agenda is a discussion of litter control, and that's been requested by Alderman Carver. Alderman Carver?
Yes, sir. First of all, as elected officials, I think it's both our duty and responsibility to discuss things like this. And I enjoy these conversations tonight and everything we've talked about, aesthetics and the quality of life and what everybody here thinks the city ought to be and what it is. But one of the things that I'm just not pleased with, having been going in the second term, checking off another box, was litter. And I've often, if somebody comes up and they're wanting to have a function, it's something I always ask about litter control. So I'm going to ask Emma Gandy if you would come up. And I know this is nothing, we've already talked today, so. But one of the things, I know we've got a couple previous aldermen here, one of the things with the funding of the new sanitation environmental services was, this is before your time, but we talked about going, do y'all remember the quadrants of actually addressing litter? And I'm going to be totally honest, I don't think it's where it needs to be. And that's the reason I'm bringing this up, just for nothing more than a public discussion if anybody wants to weigh in on what they think. If you think this city's beautiful and we don't need to discuss this, then that's an opinion and I want to hear it. But, we talked about that, and today you and I had the conversation. And what exactly are our, as policymakers, what do we need to know as far as what can we do to help you, and what is our procedures now? I know it's game season too, which makes it the absolute worst time of the year in a college town. You get a lot of outside, a town of 30 gets 60 or 80,000 people on any given weekend. But what can we do to help you, or do you think what's your game plan now for litter?
Well, currently, this is our process. The guys, or the staff rather, the 15 on the garbage trucks, we have 3 garbage trucks, 2 rubbish, 3 on each truck. At the end of the day, those crew, when they come in early, if they come in early ahead of schedule, then they go back out and perform litter control. Now, on a good day, light garbage or collection, they may get in at 1:30. So you're looking at maybe an hour at the most of litter control for an entire city. As far as landscaping, landscaping is budgeted 6 staff members. Sanitation has in the past, previously by the previous administrator, assigned 2 of her laborers to assist in landscaping because landscaping needed assistance in maintaining the city's right-of-way, cutting, mowing, weed eating, what have you. So as you can imagine, now with the addition to the sidewalks and additional areas to maintain, we're still falling short on landscaping because we were already short-staffed. Now, in the off-season, landscaping is assigned to total litter control, but that's in the off-season at the end of the cutting season. So you're looking at perhaps November through March before the first cut. But that has been my understanding of the game plan prior to my arrival, and that's our game plan now. We also have a lot of assistance from the police department where, you know, the chief and his staff will assign us individuals working off their fine. They've been very helpful in doing that, but trying to stay ahead of it with 15 staff in a city of 21,000, 22 give or take, and then with additional, with citizens, 22,000 citizens, and it's hard to stay ahead of it. We can clean a street on Monday and Tuesday, you know, it's like we didn't even go down that street. So it is challenging, but we're trying our best to stay ahead of it. But at this point, we're pretty much doing the best that we can. And we wouldn't be even doing as good as we are. I know it looks bad. I rolled it back out again today. And I don't know if any of you have rolled down any of the streets recently, but our outer streets are the troubled areas. You have Highway 25, Industrial Park Road, Lynn Lane, Highway 82, Rock Hill Road. Those are the blind spots at night. You know, you find a lot of debris on those spots, on those areas the next morning. It's not that we're not cleaning them, but it's just that we can't stay ahead of the traffic going through there and the litter that they're throwing out the window.
Kind of leading to my next question. Do you think, what would be the solution? I know you can't stay ahead of the problem, so you just got to combat it and go ahead, but, you know, what would be the solution? Is it additional personnel? Is it more work programs, volunteer agencies helping, education?
You know, education would be the leading part. I mean, I would first definitely start with education, because we do need to educate everyone on the impact that litter is having in the community. I mean, we pick up, I'll say this again, if you had driven down Industrial Park Road today or Pollard, you would have seen black garbage bags sitting on the side of the road. That's what we picked up at. But there's also trash on the side of the road where we picked up and bagged trash on yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
People came through last night and threw out trash. So there's still trash out there, even though we just picked it up a day ago. So additional staff would help. Like I said, the Chief Lindley and his staff has been very good about assisting us.
Yep.
And we get as many as we can have, and it's just...
It is what it is. I know this is open discussion, but
additional staff would be good, but please keep in mind that the sanitation department is struggling to maintain its current staff. I mean, and any additional, I can't, on what I'm working with, I can't add additional staff. I don't have the resources.
Yeah. One thing I would like to see in the future, we'd like to do signage is maybe some kind of Keep Beautiful Starkville, or Keep Starkville Beautiful, or some kind of, you know, attention to this coming in town. I see it a lot in different cities throughout the state you go in, and some kind of awareness. I know there's a couple. And then the second is, what enforcement policies do we have on private businesses? Because I know if it's not, a twofold question. We're responsible for everything inside the right-of-ways, is that correct, on all these roads you said?
We maintain the city's right-of-way with the exception to the highways. MDOT, my understanding, controls the highway. But depending on the area, I mean, we do try to do some, and depending on the time. You know, if there's a bag that has blown off of Highway 12 that has litter thrown everywhere, then we'll go out and we'll pick it up, of course. But for the most part, MDOT maintains the highways.
Thank you for coming out.
Alderman Mann.
Who maintains the trash cans like on Main Street?
We do. Those are changed every morning.
Would it be beneficial for us to add additional cans like throughout the Cotton District or down University Drive? Is that a two-edged sword sometimes?
It is. My understanding, in the past, there were some that were placed throughout the city that did come up missing. And I'm sure that's why they were not. But for the most part, we do have some at various locations downtown.
Alderman Vaughn.
I said you said something about the way the president, where we run president. You are the department head there now. Why don't you restructure to benefit you and accommodate you and your people? You don't have to go the way they used to do it. Why don't you structure it the way that will accommodate you and your peoples,
Well,
instead of going the way they used to do it?
At the present time, currently, we are giving as much as we can currently, which happens to be the process that was in the past. We are trying to supply as much time as we can. But like I said, please understand that these gentlemen that go back out are the ones that have been on the trucks at 6 and 7 in the morning collecting garbage, and then they come in and for the next hour and a half go out and collect litter.
You might need to study the process some more. One more question. What about your sweepers?
We have one street sweeper.
What other one?
Our department only has one.
Is your sweeper down now?
I'm sorry?
Are your sweeper down now?
Our sweeper is not down. It was in the shop a couple of weeks ago, but it is up and running now. So we have one sweeper for the entire city.
So when your sweeper down, what
Nothing
happened
is
to the other
swept.
sweeper?
We don't have another one.
Just one sweeper in the whole city?
Yes, sir.
Any further? Alderman Walker.
First of all, I'll say, Alderman Carver, thank you. This is, I think it's an important topic, and it's amazing to me how much litter we have. We've been trying to educate in Mississippi for the last 40 years, and it doesn't seem like we've gotten very far with litter control. But that's a huge part of it. This might be a question that someone else might can answer, Ms. Gandy, but do we have any idea how many fines we write every year for litter control?
I'm going to let the chief answer that.
That may not be something, that would be something I'd be curious to know, because I think we could probably write a lot more if we wanted to, because I think with this new transit route coming in, the DUI numbers go down, so we've got to find a new source of revenue for the city. So litter might be the way to go. And I think in the past we might have tried some more publicly available garbage cans. I think it's like the transit. I think it may be time to try that again. Once you leave the downtown block, from there all the way to campus, there's only one publicly available garbage can, and that's at Coconuts. Between here and there, there's nothing. And I like to believe that all these young, smart college students that are coming here to get an education will, if given the choice, on occasion, they will throw their refuse in a garbage can as opposed to the street. It is something that we all have to be vigilant of. I will tell you that my 8-year-old told me when I won the selection he didn't care if I did anything else, but he wanted to help make Starkville less litter in it. So it's a priority. It really is, because it says something about who we are and what Starkville wants to be. So I agree with Alderman Vaughn that if we need to, let's get out of that box that we're in. If we can look at other alternatives for how we manage and deal with litter, I think we should absolutely look at that.
Alderman Carver.
And I know this may be trivial to some, but it's one of those, it's probably the easiest fix we've had that we've discussed tonight, and it's just one of those, I don't know if it's an education thing. Spent a lot of time in Maryland last year and the year before, and you just didn't see it. You didn't see a cigarette butt on the road. You didn't. That may be a thing, and you know, an education piece more than anything. I don't know what it is. I just want to engage the conversation and figure out what we can do as a community. I know to get swept up, we may have to do more of those. We have to may use some of these volunteer groups. The Volunteer Starkville's done a great job coming out. The Mayor's Youth Council comes out and does it, and like I say, you just can't get ahead. As soon as you get something, we did get swept up, and then some of the same roads that come through, and it's you know, something I want to address. I don't know what it, but as policymakers, tell us what we can do. If there's something we've got to do, that we can put somebody on this full time that can hit every street, you know, and I think people, if they would be honest and open their eyes, they'd want to engage this conversation. So, but I appreciate you coming up and helping us.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Gandy.
Thank you, Ms. Emily.
The next matter on the agenda is a comprehensive review of landscape and sidewalk ordinance. Alderman Webb.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be recognized. I have a statement that I have prepared that I'll be reading in regards to that. It is obviously clear that members of this board are proponents of economic development for our city. It has been exactly 3 months since members of this board and the mayor took oaths to serve as stewards of this great city. Since then, we've authorized the issuance of general obligation bonds to support economic development, announced the development of several restaurants, hotels, condo development, and entered into a partnership with MSU for the Mill Project. It is imperative that we take full advantage of retail expansion. Since my tenure in office, I've had the opportunity to meet several developers that express an interest in our city. There were 2 issues that were present in every conversation: land, walk, and sidewalk ordinances. I, however, fully support both, and our city has made great measures in walkability and improved the American with Disabilities Act access. It is imperative that we draw new families and businesses to an attractive community. As a city, we're competing with many other cities for the new businesses that we are trying to make our town home for them. Our ordinances should provide and be reflective of the standards that our citizens find acceptable without being viewed as restrictive by the development community. My request will be simple. Approve a request for a comprehensive review of the landscape and sidewalk ordinances. I yield the floor at this time.
Was that a motion?
If no one else has anything to say, I will make a motion at this time.
Okay.
Okay. Move approval of instructing Mr. William Snowden, Director of Community Development, to conduct a comprehensive review of landscape and sidewalk ordinances and appear before the board with a report on his findings and present any potential recommended changes to the Board of Aldermen for the City of Starkville on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2013, during the regularly scheduled board meeting. This will be submitted by Alderman Nguyen and Alderman Little. And I've reduced it in writing.
You've got it reduced to writing. Could you pass the copy down so I can place it with the clerk? All right. Alderman Nguyen has made a motion. She has read it. This is the writing without objection. I will not reread the motion since it has been reduced to writing. Seeing no objection, do I hear a second to Alderman Nguyen's motion?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, I do not.
Discussion. Alderman Walker.
I think it's certainly appropriate to look at, as a new board comes in, to look at many of the ordinances that we currently have on the books to find out what things are working and maybe where things need to work a little bit better. That's part of our responsibility here to look at that. But I think what we need to be very clear of is what is the purpose of this, and what do we want to accomplish. I think in the end, if the end result is that, yes, we still want sidewalks in town and we still want to have street trees be planted and parking lots with trees, then yeah, let's have a review. But I think we need to set the criteria for what we want that review to be. What specifically are we looking at? Are we looking at amending the ordinance? What is it that we're looking at? And I would also offer, I think, in what's been reduced to writing, is that directing Mr. Snowden to take a look at, responsible for this comprehensive review. Well, I think that certainly makes sense because of his position. I think it may also make sense for us to look outside of our current organization, to look and see, have somebody else from a peer city that has similar kind of issues to look at and help us make what is the best determination in their view for us to help make a better decision on. While I certainly agree with many of the things that are in both of these ordinances, I think there probably is opportunity for some tweaks, not like any other ordinance that we have. I'm not sure why these are being singled out. I think more importantly, the things that's going to make us more economically viable in the long term, and what really we need a comprehensive review of, is our subdivision regulations. Those haven't been updated since 1969. We have some issues there that we need to deal with. So if we're going to be talking about reviewing ordinances, let's step back and take a holistic view of some of those things and find out where really are the problems and what's really going to put us in the best position as we move forward. And if that's the intent, I am certainly willing to listen to people's recommendations and do what is going to be in the best interest of most of the citizens, not just because a few developers, which by their nature are going to say, it's hard for me to do development here. We can't let lobbyists dictate our policy. We have to let what is best for the people ultimately do that. Not to say we don't listen to developers and hear what they have to say, because we absolutely, it is in our best interest to do that. But we have to listen and we have to react to both sides. It can't be just reaction. If we do that, we have an open process and we can look at this and make good decisions that are going to put us on the best foot forward.
Further discussion. Alderman Little.
I've been contacted several times over the last couple of months, rather. Most recently about the landscape. Prior to that, about the sidewalk ordinances and the burden it was putting on some of the developers. My colleague from Ward 4 had mentioned earlier about the taxpayers and what are they getting. Well, the taxpayers aren't paying for our infrastructure and these sidewalks. It's the developers that are paying that. And the same thing on the landscape. So we can't throw that on the tax, on the recent millage increase, because they're not getting it from there. And he's correct as far as putting more money into the sidewalks, the city's responsibility. I would love to see that line item increase next year. And the city take on more of that burden. If we want the sidewalks and infrastructure, we need to be putting that on the forefront of ourselves and not pushing that back on the taxpayers, which I live in a sidewalk neighborhood. I chose it down south of Montgomery because it had sidewalks. I put those sidewalks in. I live on a corner lot. I paid a significant portion, a lot more than a lot of folks in the neighborhood because I'm on a corner lot. I wanted sidewalks, and that was my choice. I think they're great. I'm not against sidewalks. I'm not against landscaping. Right by my house, I'm all about landscape, but it needs to be reasonable. And if I'm hearing that it's causing a burden on folks, and I don't know that it is. That's what I'm hearing. That's why I'm asking for a review. It's not saying we're supposed to throw the baby out with the bath or make some significant change tonight. It's a review. We do it at work all the time. We have peer review for files, and it's not to find something bad, it's to find where can we improve it. That's what we're looking to do. I'm all about sidewalks. I walk every morning, 5:30, come out in my neighborhood and find me. I'm all about it. But if there's something we can do to make an improvement, that's what we need to be looking at. We don't need to be. And I'm all for looking at the rest of the ordinance. I challenge the rest of the colleagues here sitting down at each end of the table to pick them up and let's run with it, bring it to the table. You know, we can multitask. But right now, this is what these two aldermen have brought to the table tonight for discussion. And I don't think it's an unreasonable request to challenge or task our city developer, who's worked in several different towns in Alabama, with this review. And I'm open to partnering with some peer. You know, I'm wide open to that. And if they think we need to make some tweaks or modifications down the road, they can bring it to the board and we'll consider it at that time. It may remain the same. I don't know. The complaints may be unfounded, but we won't know until we do the review. And that's all I've got.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Wynn's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the claims docket for Dutch Lubricants LLC. We'll give Alderman Little a moment to exit the room.
Mr. Mayor, may I recognize?
You may.
Since our college students are here, let me tell them, the reason that he is exiting the room, his wife works for Dutch Lubricants, so he removes himself.
Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of the claims docket for Dutch Lubricants LLC ending September 27, 2013 as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this measure passes. Could someone notify Alderman Little that he can now come back in the room? And we'll give Alderman Carver a moment to exit the room.
And he recuses himself because his father is an employee at the fire department here, First.
The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the City of Starkville claims docket for the fire department as of September 27, 2013. Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for the fire department as of September 27, 2013 as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Wynn. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this measure passes. And we'll give Alderman Carver a moment to re-enter the room. The next matter on the agenda is the request for approval of the claims docket for all departments except for the fire department as of September 27th.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for all departments, including the Electric Department accept the fire department as of September 27, 2013, as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. Carb's not down there. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this measure passes. And that will conclude the open session portion of our agenda. We do have matters potentially scheduled for executive session. A motion to go into closed session to determine. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to go into closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. At this time, I'll ask that everybody clear the room so the board can go into closed session deliberation.
That's okay.